There we go. Hi, I'm Arjan, also known as ak47, and today we're going to talk about, maybe again, some of you guys may have seen it before at other conferences, but we're going to talk about SpaceNet again. So, first off, this is the agenda, but okay, let's just skip to this one, because you're seeing this, well, very beautiful logo, which is SpaceFed, and SpaceFed is our project, which we started in November 2011, along with Wilco and with Laser. And SpaceFed is our federated authentication platform. So space and fed and, well, there's a pun in there, so what our project is offering right now is SpaceNet, but we're looking into other projects like Space SAML and Space Connect. Maybe if somebody is interested in those two projects, talk to Wilco. He is in the planning phase for this two projects. Well, we're an open community initiative. Sounds a bit marketing-ish, but well, if you're interested in this project, you can just contact us, and we've got still plenty of stuff to do. So, what is SpaceNet? It's a federated authentication for secure roaming of, well, a wireless network across hackerspaces and events. So when you're at a hackerspace or at an event, and your hackerspace or community or whatever is connected to this SpaceNet network, you can use your credentials, which you have at your home hackerspace, to connect to the network in a, well, somewhat secure way. Our project is comparable to HITR2NDB2012. So HITR2NDB2012 is a similar project which is rolled out over universities and colleges, and well, it's internationally seen, pretty widely deployed. So what they do at HITR2NDB2012 is that when you have an account at your home university and you're a guest at another university, you can just use your credentials from your home university to connect to the network. So yeah, SpaceNet is about configuring your settings once on your device, and then just use that to connect to the network at a lot of places. So you configure it once and you use it, well, everywhere, but not everywhere right now, but it's getting there. SpaceNet is based on the WPA2 encryption enterprise with 802.1x.1x with radius proxying.
With the broken MS chip?
What? Yeah, with MS chip, but we'll get to that. SpaceNet is also about creating awareness about network security, what vulnerabilities are there and how can you mitigate them if you're running your network, and what things should you look after if you're a client which is using this network. So, in the previous slide I was already talking about WPA2.1x and radius. So the reason we're using WPA2 is because, well, WAP and WPA version 1, they have too much, the encryption is too weak, so please don't bother with those standards. But WPA2 has a very strong cipher, which is the CCMP, which is an AES-based encryption. if you would be running a public Wi-Fi network, WPA2 PSK pre-shared key would not really cut it because you're using a static key. So when you would sniff the association and you know the key, then you can get to the session key and you can still decrypt all of the network. So PSK it does not cut it for public networks. So we're using WPA2 Enterprise, and this is excellent because it has dynamic keys for each session. This is all done in 802.1x, which is initially invented for the wired network access control, but then also extended to for using the Wi-Fi network access control. This 802.1x defines the extensible authentication protocol, EAP, which is commonly used in combination with radio server. And well, most people know Radius, which was initially developed for dial-in authentication and authorization and accounting, of course. In SpaceNet, we're only using authentication and authorization. Accounting is not something we're actually doing, but with accounting you can collect data from how long you would be online, how data they have transferred, that kind of stuff. We're not really into that. We're only doing the authentication and authorization. So, why it's useful? Like I said before, you configure it once and use it everywhere. Works on most clients. Linux and OS X and the Windows, they have proper support for it. Most devices like Android and iPhone, they have also excellent support for it. So why not go for that? It's secure because it uses WPA2 with dynamic keys. Works at every connected space or event. So we're running this on this event. We're running it. We have rolled out most of the hackerspaces in the Netherlands. We have Luxembourg. We have a couple of them in Germany, and well, maybe at your space next week. Yeah, SpaceNet is a way of giving guest access to your users in a proper way. So no captive portals; they just need to die. You can use it for wired as well. Not really seeing what's integration with that, but it's possible. And you can also offer it at your home. So when you have your friends over, which they all have SpaceNet accounts, they can just use the SpaceNet account to get to your Wi-Fi. I'm offering this as well at my place and at my parents' place, and well, I guess some other guys are doing this as well. They're just popping up all access points with SpaceNet on it.
Me tomorrow. Maybe.
Yeah? Okay, good.
Depends on Skip.
Lol. Yeah, yes.
Where is he?
Where is Skip? Maybe you should talk to his voicemail again.
No, we can.
Okay. So, how does this all work? So, let's just say we're now at random data, which has a local radio server and it has an access point, and then we have the cloud and with country nodes, and then you have your home radio server because you're a guest at random data, and you would like to get to the network with your BitLayer credentials. So what would then happen is then the client would initially send his anonymous identity to the local radio server. So this can be just anything at the realm which you want to authenticate against. This local radio server would then decide, I cannot authenticate this user. I would have to route it back to the country node. The country node has all kinds of delegations configured for all the realms he knows. So the country node then knows he has to route it back to your home radio server, in this case BitLaire's radio server. In the second phase, the authentication would authentication tunnel would be directly put up from the local radio server at the hackerspace to your home radio server. So you're not actually giving the credentials to the local radio server at that space. You're giving it via a tunnel to your home radio server. So yes, proxying based on your anonymous identity. Your an TLS tunnel is created to your home radio server. The home radio server would say it's okay or it's not okay, and then there would be the dynamic key would be discussed with local access point, and then profit, I guess. So this is another. This is a bit too much detail, but
It's clear.
yes. In this image, it says it has one radio server, but you would have, in some case, you would have. If the request would need to be proxied, then you will have another radio server with, here, and this radio server would only be proxying all of the requests to the correct radio server. But what you see here is that a client would associate to the Wi-Fi network. Then the EAP session would be created here. Then there is some TLS stuff going on with exchange of the radio certificate, and then here you would have the image chat-v2, which is used in here. This is an image for PEEP, which is then which is done through the TLS tunnel that has been set up, and eventually it gets again to the access point, and the client would then install actual session key, which is used for the WPA2. Yes, security issues with this. So would I have to trust? Is SpaceNet completely secure? No, it's not. It's not. There's no real end-to-end security with SpaceNet, but over the air your data will be secured because of the dynamic keys which are used in WPA2. There are still issues where you would have possibilities for layer 2 attacks like ARP spoofing, rogue DHCP, rogue IPv6, router announcement, that kind of stuff. That is still there, so you would need to protect your network against that, or you would, as a client, you would need to detect that if that kind of attacks are going on. Yes, very important is the certificate checking. So if you would, as a client, would not check the certificate, then, well, anybody can just put up a SpaceNet network, and then your client will happily associate to that network, and then you basically do not know if you're connecting to a legitimate network or not.
And setting your password.
Yeah.
But it's the same for a website.
Yeah.
If you accept it, just accept the certificate,
Yeah.
you're fucked.
Yeah. Well, it's just the same as for SSL, right?
Hey.
So, but in this case, it works a bit differently. So, as a client, you would need to see if, or need to check if it's a specific certificate, or you would need to check if it's signed by a certain CA and it has a certain common name. So,
Are you signed by a trusted CA?
what?
Are all your radius certificates signed by a trusted CA?
Well, in case of BitLayer it is, but it's on the hackerspace to arrange a certificate for that. So we would.
Check. You can also check for specific certificates.
Yeah, you can also check for specific certificates. So if you just would install if you would have a self-signed certificate on the radio server, it's not a very big deal, because if you would distribute the certificate to your clients and they would install it on their device and they would check against that certificate, then it's fine.
But it's not something that US SpaceNet require of all participating radio servers.
No. We are. That is up to the hackerspace. We are only proxying all of the requests. We are not actually doing anything. We don't look at your passwords. We just proxy it, and that's what we do. So yeah,
We'll do some inspection.
Yeah.
Do some inspection on the
No,
password.
we cannot.
I know.
Sure you can, you have a choice.
Yeah.
It would also be a good idea to check the server's name.
Yes.
Yeah, you can do that. If you have, you can. It depends on the client, but in most cases you can. Right. In most cases you can check the certain common name and see if the certificate is signed by a certain certificate authority. That's what you can do. So, but in other cases you can also say, I just want to check this specific certificate and nothing else. It can be a bit of a hassle when your certificate would expire and you would need to have install another certificate. So, about identity, the access point which you're connecting to, it can only see your anonymous identity, because it cannot actually look into the TLS tunnel. So yeah, you can do some cool stuff with that, like so we've seen here, if we're logging into this access point, which is here, we already have some guy trying to inject some code into their anonymous identity. I guess it's not really.
It should be nice to have an extra pop-up now.
That would be cool. We also have well, will call here on the network, but it's actually my laptop, so. So that's some cool
Your
stuff.
laptop to serve porn?
Yeah.
No. My
So in
laptop actually is AK47.
Yeah. And this works because of in the initial request you would just send your your anonymous identity, so something at the realm, and then in the second phase, when the TLS tunnel is built up, then you would send your actual username and password. Or, well, password, that would depend on what kind of authentication you're using. So. Yeah, is it the next best thing to VPNs? Yeah, maybe. Yeah, if you're comparing this to a completely unsecured network, then with SpaceNet you at least have make sure that your data is encrypted over the air. So it is a good alternative to VPNs, because not everybody has access to VPNs, but you still need to watch out for those layer 2 attacks. Yeah, some issues with all this is that most equipment does not have any proper layer 2 protection mechanism, like R protection and DHCP snooping, that kind of stuff. Yeah, we've been investigating this at BitLayer with our own access point, which is a Linux-based access point. And we ran into an issue that we discovered that there is no layer 2 filtering possible if you're using Linux 802.11 drivers. Then you can only say, oh, I want to completely isolate the users, or allow all of the traffic to use. You cannot actually route it to another interface. All of the packet forwarding is done inside of the drivers. So, and a lot of vendors are using these drivers in their products, so that's a big issue. And user isolation is not the only way out, because yeah, you would break end-to-end connectivity. Clients would not be able to communicate with each other on the same network. So you would really like to have that kind of functionality. Another issue is that if you you're running Windows, then this Windows does not really like self-signed certificates. You would need to have a certificate signed by a certificate authority to actually check it. But I had some discussion earlier with Wilco, and he said it might be possible to do it as well. But yeah, last point on this: should we assign penalties for SpaceNet networks which would do admin abuse, like do man-in-the-middle attacks on the network because they have access to the router where all the traffic goes through? Yeah, should we do that or not? That's still something we're looking into, if we would need to do that or not. If we need to have a mechanism where people can report this kind of abuse. Yes, MS-CHOP v2 vulnerability. This was announced at DEFCON this year. Yes, MS-CHOP v2 has been broken. Has been broken for years. This is and it's the attack showed that you can within a very short amount of time you can reverse this. The reason it is not broken for this WPA2 enterprise setup is that the MS-CHOP v2 is used inside of the EPTLS tunnel. So only if you can look inside the EPTLS tunnel, then you would have an issue. Yeah.
It's not broken as long as the client checks the certificate. If the client does not check the certificate, it's broken.
Yeah, that as well. But you can also, in the TLS tunnel, you can also as an alternative, you can use POP. But yeah, that's the only alternative there is for MS-CHOP v2. Or you would have to have an approach where you
Distribute certificates.
yeah, you would have to authenticate with the certificate. So we're kind of running out of time here. So so we're running through this. So what would I need to connect to get SpaceNet at my hackerspace? You would need an access point with WPA2 enterprise support. You would need to have some kind of machine which can run Radius. We can provide you the free Radius config, which is on our wiki.
It's very easy to install.
Yeah, just copy paste and yeah. Yeah, you would need to have some kind of user directory, so preferably LDAP, and maybe a public key infrastructure if you would like to authenticate with certificates. You would need some kind of fixed IP, so we can hook it up to our top nodes. IPv6 would be a very good thing to use in this kind of, but if you have fixed IPv4, it's no problem for it as well. Then you would need a token which is supplied by your country node, and you would need to have some clue to set it up. And you can ask us, to skip. Ask skip, yes. That's a good thing. Yeah. So, so we're using it right now. Right now we have Bitler, RefSpace, Frag, XSpace, NudeSpace, Synthicat, which is Luxembourg, Random Data, and Subplot.org in Germany, and more. We already done some events with SpaceNet, like ETH0, EMF Camp, which was last weekend in England, Hexagreen in Luxembourg, Hack in the Box Amsterdam, and Hack in the Box Malaysia. We'll have it as well. So are you using it right now? You can use these credentials to get to SpaceNet. And we would need to publish the certificate as well. But we would need to. Future of SpaceNet, we're currently upgrading our NL node and our default node. This is all somewhat sponsored by NICAP. We would have 2 machines and 2 different networks for our NL and default node, and another server we would have for some monitoring and management kind of stuff. So yeah, more promotion, more events, more spaces. We would like to have more supported radio servers and platform. We had some requests in before that we would have if we could have an integration with Microsoft Active Directory and that kind of stuff. That would also be possible if you want to do that. Yeah, but, yeah.
Radio and 80, good.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, we would like to have some easier deployment if we have some experience that some hackerspaces do not have enough background to actually set up LDAP and set up the radius part. So we're looking into ways to simplify this process, but on the other hand, it can be very can be an educational process for the hackerspace. So we're planning to do also monitoring, and we're developing some management software to. We only have 5 seconds left for Q&A. Yeah?
And the opening.
Huh? And the opening. Yes. We would like to also announce that random data is also connected to SpaceNet. Yay. So yeah, let's create some tweets for that. In the couple of seconds we have. And yes, so random data is also connected to SpaceNet.
Yeah.
3 minutes Q&A.
So. 3 minutes Q&A. Okay. Yeah.
How about requirements for people that connect to the access points, like what you said, check the certificate,
Yeah.
but also check the server name, which would also be another level of security for the MS job problem.
Yeah.
Are you gonna enforce such a policy, or?
We can really not. So it's up to the client to if they would check the certificate or not. So if you're not, as a client, if you're not checking the certificate, then it's your risk. This also has been shown in HITR2N deployments that a lot of clients, and especially the Windows clients, they're not checking the certificate, and man in the middles can be done very easily. So it's it's very crucial. Yeah.
How about providing a sample with the supplicant configuration file, which has like certain things pre-configured, like that server name? Yeah. Because if you set up a rogue access point with a fake radius server, and the server name is not is checked by the client and it's not compared, or it's not similar, it doesn't send the credentials, so it's another layer of security for those rogue access points. So perhaps you could eliminate that problem by such a solution.
Yeah, maybe. The only problem still is that the client is always using the local radio server. So from SpaceNet's perspective, we cannot really we can't do that. So
that's true. Also, mobile devices would not accept like a configuration file like that.
Yeah, that's also an issue. But if you're for example, if you're on the iOS platform on the iPhones and on the iPads, it would if you're initially joining a network, it would send you a certificate. You at that time accept that certificate. If the certificate would change in time, then it will give the user an error that he cannot connect to this network because the certificate has changed. Out of the box, that works pretty well, but it's very client dependent on how to do this.
Well, maybe if you make the people that connect to your network aware of the fact that it's broken, you could eliminate the problem a little bit more.
Let's discuss it during dinner because we're out of time.
Okay.
Aka, thank you very much.